So let's look at the for loop as well. It'll be very practical to know the for loop. And again, this will be a very simple overview. We will cover this more in detail in a later lecture. So for loop allows us to run a block of code repeatedly. So the syntax of for loop is in a parentheses, initialization, condition, and iteration, and then followed by a statement or a block of statements. So initialization here is normally for setting a loop control variable. Condition is for stopping the loop. So the loop is going to continue as long as the condition is true. It will immediately stop when the condition is no longer true. And iteration is normally for updating the loop control variable. Right, so let's see an example. So we have in our initialization, we have an integer I that is initialized to 0, and our condition is as long as I is less than 5, and the iteration will increase I by 1 in each loop. So, and the block of the statement that follows in a block is print I, and this will repeat 5 times, and then here's how a sample output look like. So let's see this in the editor. Alright, so let's see a for loop demo. Again, I have an empty Sublime file that I'm going to save as for demo.java. So inside my class, I'm going to create a class name for demo, and then public static void main string args. So that's my main method. And for the first lecture, I'm going to type out everything, including the skeleton and print line statements. However, in the following lectures, I will show you some shortcuts that simplifies writing this Java skeleton. Okay, so let's write our first for loop. For what I need an initialization that I'm going to say integer I 0. So I'm going to declare a variable I, integer I, and then set it to 0. And my condition will be I is less than 5, and my iteration is I++, which means that increase I by 1. So the body of my for loop, let's write a print statement. So you can go on and print as simple as I itself, and then I'm going to save. So I can say Java C for demo.java. That's to compile, and Java for demo, that's to run. So as you can see, I'm printing the index itself, which starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It never reaches 5. So I is less than 5 means continues as long as the condition is true. When I is 5, that means the condition is false. So, however, if you do declare the I outside the for loop, which you can, and then try to print I at the end or outside the for loop, you'll see that the final value of I is 5. But this basically saying that as long as I is less than 5. So you might say that, can I start from 1? Like I is initialized to 5. You can absolutely do that. And here's how it will look like now. All right, the index started from 1. However, it's not common that you start an index from 1. In programming, it's usually conventionally you always start counting from 0. So, but we'll go with this. You can also, if you want to include 5, you have two options. You can, your condition can say I is less than 6, but more commonly you can say I is less than or equal to 5. So that will include I itself. All right, so one more try. There you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can do a few other things. You can, right now we only printed I, but you can use I in an expression, like in this case where we take I squared, I times I, and the printout this time will be, let's see, compile, run 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25. Right? So you can also combine I with a string as well, which I could do that, but more so, here's what I want to do. This for loop is followed by a single statement. That's how it should be. However, if you have more than one statement, you should wrap them with the curly braces, so you make it a statement block. So in this case, you can basically print anything you want. So so I can say system dot out dot print. This time I want to say print. Then I can say I plus maybe one space, and then I can say I is this. Then I can say I square somehow. I need to be able to say this. The value of I, and can I say I square and space. There you go. Now I have two lines, two statements instead of one. So I square is 1, I square is 4, I square is 9, 16, 25. Right? So you will have some lab questions that will require you to use for loop, and this much of information should be sufficient. And again, we will cover the loops in more in depth in lecture 3.